Indonesia. Thanks, John. Those multiple terror attacks Friday are causing concern here at home. For some insight, Gillian Turner, senior associate at Jones Group International, Fox News contributor, joins us. As we're learning what's happening overseas, we're seeing these disjointed terrorist attacks, Kuwait, Tunisia, France. Is there a reason to think that things are going to get worse here at home? Does this all play into a narrative?
Well, it's a good question to ask, especially leading up to this coming week, which is somewhat of a perfect storm of auspicious conditions for either a planned attack or some kind of a spontaneous attack. We mentioned earlier that we've got the Islamic State's anniversary of the Caliphate coming up in combination with July 4th and Ramadan ongoing, so this is perfect storm.
Has ISIS learned from Al-Qaeda? You know, Al-Qaeda was great at the huge, spectacular attacks. You think 9/11, you think the USS Cole, you think those kinds of things. ISIS seems to be being happy with the do what you can when you can. One guy running out with a machine gun, in many ways a lot scarier because it's so much harder to stop.
Well, it's interesting because yesterday's 3 attacks are actually substantiating a narrative that's only been emerging really in recent weeks from leaked intelligence and declassified intelligence, which tells us that they're actually much better organized than we previously thought, both bureaucratically and operationally. Their command and control structure, as well as their communications processes, are very well synced at this point in time.
So the JV team analysis may not be so spot on.
No, and I think it's also erroneous to sort of dismiss them as being opportunistic, as the president did not 10 days ago.
Oh, that's an interesting point. So what is law enforcement in the United States to do, or does law enforcement in the United States simply have to rely on overseas intelligence and hopefully trying to disrupt their command and control networks?
Both. I mean, they're going to have to ramp up coordination with our allies abroad, Muslim allies, European allies, you name it. But in the immediate future, in the next couple of weeks, law enforcement and the intel community is going to be focused on really trying to sort through these attacks and figure out whether they were only loosely coordinated, whether they were actually all under ISIS operational control, or whether this was just executed by people inspired by ISIS. Well, those are going to be very important.
I don't know which one is less scary than the other one. You talk, though, about the perfect storm of the anniversary of ISIS's caliphate. Obviously, they want to try and have some kind of anniversary celebration, as profane as that may be. Number 2, you have July 4th. Big dates are significant to ISIS, much more so than they ever will to Al-Qaeda. Lastly, though, you're dealing with the issue of the holy month of Ramadan, and there's a lot of jihadis who believe that if you do something on Ramadan or die in jihadi activities during Ramadan, you get extra gold points with God. Is that something that really makes a difference in terms of planning and recruitment?
It really does, and I'd actually point out that, you know, these 3 attacks yesterday were not spontaneous. They all occurred in the immediate aftermath of ISIS leadership calling for increased violence during the run-up to Ramadan.
And their followers
a few days
listened.
ago. Exactly.
Even if their followers weren't necessarily in their control, they may have simply been inspired, and then it's even harder to track.
And that's an important distinction from a counterterrorism policy perspective, not a really important difference to the victims.
Well, not important to the victims at all, but also important to law enforcement who may try to stop the next attack.
Absolutely.
Gillian Turner, we appreciate